fucking Twitch. Audio test, audio test, audio test. We are loud and clear. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Singapore Grand Prix. Welcome to Marina Bay. And welcome to round 11 here in Tier 1 for Inters Racing League. I am your main commentator for this evening, Jamie Perry. Here in the commentary box, hopefully we'll be joined by Broseph Cooper a little later on in this qualifying. 18 minutes on the clock. We are down to 16 minutes and 40 seconds. And our first driver is out on the circuit, the Alpine of Josh Rizochlin. That's quite a name. We're also going through the field now. Aiden Riziums as well coming out. Mr. Cool Cars and P20 and the Red Bull all starting to come out of the pit lane and onto the City of Lights here in Marina Bay, a city that simply never sleeps when Formula One is well and truly on, including this weekend. Tonight will be the Formula One Grand Prix, but before we get to that, we have the more exciting action right now here in qualifying. Inters underway, 16 minutes practically on the basis, and here we go. So on board, let's go to the Alpine of Josh Rizochlin. Quite the name, I must admit. And let's go through a few things to begin with. So, Azerbaijan, the weekend before. Man, has it been an exciting couple of weeks of racing. And the championship seems to always want to close in and then tighten back out as the racing continues and we make our way onto round 11. Next round will be Australia at Albert Park. But of course, first we have qualifying here in Singapore. So, Baku, Websy picked up an important win at Azerbaijan, which had allowed him to increase the gap to Miaozi, of course, McJammy Dodge, to 51 points. However, the deficit was practically nothing, showing you how on an even pace these drivers are. Of course, Miaozi had only lost by 78 hundredths of a second, or 78 milliseconds for people who do not understand the decimal system, and it just meant that practically on the checkered flag, just that little bit more DRS and a strong toe allowed them to get by the time they reached that timing line. It was all said and done, and Websy had picked up the win. Aiden Riziums and Yusuf Goat, another few couple of drivers who have been pretty much popping up on the radar a little bit more, and that's due to the fact that the championship fight between them two is really starting to tighten up now. Finns in the Williams has been struggling as of late in the Williams, who currently finds himself in P3, and currently it sees Aiden Riziums and Yusuf Goat separated by 9 points, but Yusuf Goat is only separated by Finns by 3 points, and that does mean that Aiden Riziums behind is only separated by Finns by 12 points. So if you still don't understand what I'm saying, due to Finns just struggling in the last couple of weeks and him losing out by quite a significant margin, both Yusuf Goat and Aiden Rizium should be, at least by statistic-wise, getting past the Williams driver, meaning both of them, and there'll also be their own separate fight between the two drivers of Aiden Riziums and Yusuf Goat, due to only being separated by 9 points. Josh Rizochlin finishes up his time in Singapore, a 126.410, and those soft compound tyres working effectively. If we are unsure about the tyres this evening, it is the C3s, 4s and 5s, the softest in the Pirelli range for this evening, meaning we'll get fast, high-paced action, and unlike, I can only assume, the tyres in real life, we shouldn't see as much tyre heating problems, or at least the tyres struggling to get up to temperature as we would find in real life. More so to speak, we're going to have the grip in the beginning for these C5s, and then if they were to do a longer stint in the race, it probably wouldn't work in their favour. So expect majority of the strategies to be on the mediums and hard compound tyres. As this session has gone on, 5 and now 6 people setting down some times, and a Ferrari to then get going on his fast lap. Let's go over to the Aston Martin of Farmer Sam, who just crosses the timing line, does set down a 128.126, and I must admit, admit, Aiden Riziums with a 26.152. That is an impressive lap time to set down. Websy has actually retired from the session. That could be for certain internet issues. Devastator and the McLaren just now crossing that line and allowing him to get going on his fast lap. Mercedes behind him. I believe that is Aussie 2K GOAT, and he will be now him crossing the line with a 27.062. Goes up to P4. He'll be happy with that one, who now slots into practically the middle of the grid so far. A few more drivers starting to approach up to that timing line, but we'll make sure to go on board one of these upcoming drivers soon. Let's go on board with Checkered Flag, teammate to Yusuf GOAT. Yusuf actually managed to do quite well in the last couple of weekends. Obviously, if people are unaware of his situation, specifically for Yusuf GOAT, he's currently injuring himself. Whoa, sorry, no, he currently is racing with an injury. He's fractured his ankle, and it does mean that he is using controller and is on a bit of a disadvantage on the pace side, because obviously he'd be more competitive if he was using a wheel and pedals, but due to his foot being out of action, it cannot be used for the time being. Checkered Flag across the line, goes up to P2, 207, and we'll be happy with that one, but just a little off Aiden Riziums by roughly a tenth of a second. Actually, a bit below that would be around 50 milliseconds, 50 hundredths. So close margins actually near the front end of the field. GLX Cam just starting up his lap time. Let's go on board with the Ferrari. See a few more drivers who are starting to close out. I believe Devastator will be the next across the line. But the Ferrari P13 GLX Cam, a man who has continued to showcase his ability as a driver and has improved time and time again at every opportunity that he has been given. And a very opportunistic driver who always seeks to improve and become more competitive as time goes on. Now, in terms of the circuit, just currently making his way through turn 7, 8, and now 9 before getting onto the back straight. Currently no DRS here, and there also isn't DRS through sector 3, unlike real life where there is now a 4th DRS activation point, now equaling with Albert Park where we go next week. But the Ferrari now going into turn 13, turn 10 is the entry into the bit more of a swivel or the technicality of this circuit, and now goes onto the nice bridge area before eventually taking the right hand over to turn 14. Then you're quickly followed by turn 15, which is just a simple kink. Stay flat to floor the entire way through. Then the Ferrari starting to break down, shifting to third gear, get the rotation onto the curbs, eventually slowly but surely get the throttle back down and curve around turns 18 and 19 up to the line. It's a 27.672. Only goes P11. But the Ferrari currently in a better position than his teammate, the man who is now 51 points off Websy. The McLaren, as I mentioned, had won that race by 78 hundredths of a second in Baku, did what he needed to do, even by the close margins. Points do stay the same, and it has worked in the favor for the McLaren driver. But this is where McJammy Dodge can find the advantage. As you can see, Websy has retired from the session, so has Yusuf GOAT, and it does mean with Websy needing to potentially serve even a qualifying ban, I would assume not, as there wasn't too much that took place in Azerbaijan that would have hinted at that happening. It could be simply just retirement in the session. Whatever the case may be, Websy P14 and will continue to drop down, and Ferrari will be loving this because one of the more competitive drivers on the field, at least since the midpoint of this season. He wasn't immediately competitive, but then signed that seat with Ferrari, and he has shown his pace, ever since. And McJammy Dodge now into the final couple of corners, just sticking to the outside curve. You don't want to abuse it because of the floor, but 26.132. Wow, the margins are really practically nothing. 20 milliseconds. That was it between P1 and P2, and it could mean Aiden Riziums could also potentially line up on pole position. As I mentioned, Aiden Riziums has been doing well in the last couple of races. Beat out Yusuf GOAT to take the final podium position in Azerbaijan, took P3, and another podium to his name, another top 5 statistic to his name. Aiden Riziums has been quite consistent and quite competitive in these last couple of races, potentially stepping up a little bit more. Obviously, Sorzady has also done well for himself, so both the Haas cars have been doing quite well, but on the constructors' side, they could be slightly higher. P5, 19 points off Williams in P4, and Ferrari, who we're currently looking at, McJammy Dodge, who set down a 26.132, is in P3 which is 28 points off McLaren in P1, with Racing Bulls separating the two constructors at this time. Liquid Jake and the Williams backing out of it, P18, but will not go any faster for the time being. Shawnee in P14, the Kick Sauber was pushing along, and that vacuum Ferrari engine, I will try and avoid going on board with the Ferrari as long as possible, because we all know how horrific it sounds, but eventually McDermott George will most likely get a bit of that limelight today. So it will be inevitable, and all the other drivers, of course, we have no bias to anyone here. And the green and black car, Sir Joshi, just making his way through the curbs and technicalities above that little arch before eventually making it onto the bridge. Flat to the floor, pedal to metal, just needs to oodle onto the throttle as he slowly accelerated out of the corner. But more specifically, quickly out of the corner. We know how much torque and power these cars produce, just over 1,000 brake horsepower from these V6 twin-turbocharged hybrid engines. Not plug-in, of course. They have an MGUK and an MGUH, and for Carlos Sainz, that's going to be a replacement of the MGUK after the rear damage he suffered. At this very corner that Sir Joshi is approaching, quickly swivel the car over to the right-hand side, or left-hand, sorry, and P6 for the Kick Sauber, who sets down a 26.796, and we'll be happy with that one for the time being. Here is another man, as we mentioned, a man who has suffered in the last couple of weeks. Williams hasn't exactly been marginally faster than a lot of the other drivers, and just has been, not exactly on the front foot as of late, and he's been more on that back foot and trying to bring back some of those podium paces that we've seen previously. I mean, in Azerbaijan, I believe he finished in P14, and he's P3 in the championship, so he's picked up 2 wins this season, from what I can see. So, yeah, SFR Fins. So that's 2 wins this season, 1 P3. He's had 2 driver of the days. He had 4 top 5s. And majority of this came from the very beginning of the season. Williams has slowly dissipated away a little bit, but purple in the first sector could be personal improvements. I'll get my live telemetry up in a little bit, but it does not matter. Fins, unfortunately, invalidating. Probably the only part you really could, apart from, of course, the chicanes and that white line just being exceeded by inches, most likely. Either case, Fins has needed to back out of it with not much time to spare in terms of his battery, so he'll go probably once again, and does so with no time being set down on this time round. Back towards the front end of the field, KLX and P7, Mercedes going into the first couple of corners, K5, M5 in the Alpine, currently entering into the third and final. Let's go on board with the French constructor, and it's been a good little run, or at least pace of form for Alpine, at least as of late. Unfortunately, they have had no wins as a constructor. That's the same for Sauber, who's never had a win. They've had 1 podium. Mercedes having no wins, and Red Bull only having 1 podium. Aston Martin have never had a win either. So in terms of Tier 1 specifically, it's not been the greatest show. I mean, as a whole in Inters, it has been quite a showcase for the French constructor, but K5 M5 needs to have a bit more of a representation for the French constructor. It's not been an easy road for these guys, but they're definitely not slow. It's just an incredibly tight and competitive field with some of the fastest drivers in the Oceanic region, which just means getting an opportunity to actually get yourself a win, or at least a podium, if you want to say that. It can be really difficult, and for K5 it can be, as he obviously makes a few little mistakes. They're swiveling around trying to get better control over the car, just used a few of those curbs, and you can see how aggressively he's attacking every corner, really trying to find that time by almost pointing the car towards a direction. And well, he went for an ultra wide line, went across the white line, and has unfortunately depleted any opportunity at setting down a time, and that is all she wrote for the time being. Verk in P11, the Red Bull setting down a 27.138, and the Red Bull finds himself in that position for the time being, but does seem to be pushing along. He's got half of his battery remaining, entering into the first couple of corners of what I believe is turn 4. DRS active, and there are only 3 DRS points, around this circuit, but obviously, as I mentioned, in real life, 4 DRS points have now been implemented, but seems to be for at least majority of the run, with 3 minutes 30 on the clock. Drivers who are on a set of used soft compound tyres, as the C5s are being used to its fullest extent. I mean, it would be unusual to see the C3s or C4, sorry, we are on the softest compound, got there eventually. It would be unusual to see the C4s or C3s, but it does seem, in that time period, around 3 minutes of drivers coming back into the pit lane, it is the man in the Ferrari, McJammy Dodge, who, like as I mentioned, needed this weekend, and we all know how hard it is to overtake in Singapore. It's tight, it's challenging, it's not exactly the easiest to overtake at, and Websy being now down in P17 with Sawzity and Finn's yet to set down a time. Finn's unfortunately invalidated. I believe Sawzity did the same. I mean, look at Ferrari push. Let's go on board with the Scuderia, Ferrari HP, as their name is now pronounced, and now entering into the next couple of corners out of the exit of turn 9 onto the back straight. Ferrari will then go flat to the floor going into turn 10. Then you get a bit more technicality where slingshot chicane used to exist, has now unfortunately been taken out. I say unfortunately, it was quite a chaotic corner, and that caused a lot of issues in terms of the floor, so realistically it couldn't be used nowadays, especially if we kept the same width at which that chicane was held. Now goes into turn number 14 at the exit of turn 13, done the back straight, and now it's a pretty simple run to the line. You first had this back straight, you had turn 15 as a kink downshift to 4th gear, and actually has gone a gear higher than a lot of other drivers would, but carrying so much momentum and speed, he can do exactly that, not oodling around, staying flat to the floor all the way to the line. It's a 25.843, what an improvement, and that is exactly what the Ferrari needed, a complete and utter clean space of circuit, no traffic, no problems at all. That is a fantastic improvement, and has done it by a solid margin, with him now in P1 by an even larger deficit, and we'll be happy with that one. You should have seen the speed he was carrying through into turns 18 and 19 before activating just a very slight amount of DRS. Incredible to watch, and quite a spectacle that Ferrari puts on in terms of qualifying lap times. Has always delivered to the fullest extent, just like Websy has been able to do on many occasions in that McLaren. Unfortunately, we won't get to see that spectacle in the McLaren. He has retired. He's going to go even further down the field, most likely P19 by the end. Aston Martin now getting the throttle down, upshifting through the gears, using the battery as well as the DRS purple in the second sector, 39 thousandths or hundredths of a second, in terms of improvements. Now getting onto the back straight out of the exit of turn 15, he's actually giving a slight toe to the V car behind him, which then allows him to swivel through into turn 16 and 17, apex to apex, corner to corner, as it is once said, using a bit of the outside curb, avoid bottoming out on the floor, and that's P4 and 126.358. He'll be happy with that one, and obviously don't want to be damaging your plank when it comes to that outside curb in the final couple of corners. Aiden Rizium's in the Haas P2, 26.152, and starting to close in on the kick Sauber ahead. Obviously we're not racing, but it does seem like it's racing with how quickly Haas is pushing along here, and clearly a bit of a pace advantage in the favor of Aiden Rizium's. And Aiden in P2, we saw his pace early on out in qualifying. He's a tenth and a half, nearly 2 tenths up on his time. Are we going to potentially see a change in provisional pole over to the Haas driver? A minute 13 as he goes into turn 16 and 17, but it will not matter because Haas has unfortunately seen himself invalidate across the line. He will stay in P2. Nothing he can do now. That seemed to be a good amount of improvement, nearly 2 tenths. It was going to be a 125.9. He would have stayed in P2 at the end of the day. Josh Rizochlin in P4. Alpine will stay where he is in that position. Checkered flag in the V-carb, nearly a tenth up on his time, 98 hundredths, and now looking to put the paces all into one spot and one spot alone. The checkered flag waving along. McJammy Dodge has well and truly started to slow down 2 laps on those soft compound tyres. He's found his improvement, he's found his time. Is it enough? By the time we reach the checkered flag, it's going to be a 25. It's a 26.013. Couldn't break into the 25s. We only have one driver who has been able to manage it. KLX in the Mercedes, currently only a couple hundredths up on his time, and a 115, 116 into turn 16 and 17. Now getting the throttle down, swiveling around on the steering wheel, making sure to have good car control, bottoming out on the outside curb, but comes across the line. It's only a 26.871, only manages to go up to P10. Tyler FF in the Aston Martin coming back into the pit lane, and by the time everything is said and done, Sawzity retiring in the pit lane as well by not coming out and crossing the checkered flag. It means Websy will start P17, and it will be the V-carb of Yusuf Godin P18, and as we go across over to this little timing sheet, we can see in P1 on pole position, McJammy Dodge in the Scuderia Ferrari HP a 125.843, nearly 2/10 ahead of Checkered Flag in P2. The V-Carb a 26.013 behind, couldn't manage to get into the 25, so the only man who could was, of course, the Ferrari of McJammy Dodge. It would have been also Aiden Riziums if he unfortunately didn't invalidate on his final run out. It was going to be a 25.9 for him, and he would have taken P2, so he's lost out position. Haas down there, and I need to quickly scroll down before someone tells me off for not looking through the entire positions. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. I believe Battlecat is there with RLT as well, so helping out in the background. However, no more playing around, no more invalidations of times, no more putting on a new set of the soft compound tires and looking to try and improve on whatever time you have set down. The times have been set, the grid slot places have been put down, and there's only one thing left to do, and that is to go racing here in IRL for Season 7, Tier 1, Round 11, here at Singapore. Big old drink. So, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Every car ready to go. It's been exactly the qualifying that Ferrari would have wanted. On pole position with his championship contender, Websy, down in P17. It is exactly the position you want to be in, even potentially P18. But the point being, in positions they don't want to start in, Ferrari with the advantage. An incredibly close and tight lineup near the front of the field. Aiden Rizium's looking to try and score high. And potentially not his first win of the season. Either way, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. The lights go out and it's pedal to metal here in Singapore at the Marina Bay Street Circuit. And all of a sudden you can see absolute carnage unfolding. And clearly I have missed something. Are we getting a restart in the session? Can someone tell me? The stream is showing an interview. Whoa, what do you mean? Pardon? Whoever, so for context by the way, whoever is using Lightstream, get off. I'm not using Lightstream, so whoever's using Lightstream, stop using Lightstream. And we are clearly getting a restart in the session. Classic fashion, huh? Jamie Perry tries to commentate a start and we get a restart in the session. My god. yeah, I've seen it's a restart in the session. But joining us in the commentary box momentarily is the Battle Cat. How are we, sir? And nothing coming through from you just yet. Yeah, so who... That would have been nice to know maybe 30 seconds ago. Yeah, all good. Yeah, no problem. All good. So what is that going to be for Websy then? Is that still going to be P18, I believe?
It will be, yes.
Yeah.
Towards the back.
Yeah, I mean, he retired from the session, so there's not much they can do on that side. Oh, hello. We've got K5 and M5 and KLX battling away here. There's a red flag that deployed, so it's a one-on-one battle at the moment. Here is the entertainment we are getting this evening, ladies and gentlemen. We've got two drivers trying to take each other out. Alpine hits the Mercedes. Mercedes goes into the barrier, and Alpine now continues to collide along with the team from Brackley, and now K5 rear-ending himself into the barrier, and now Alpine continuing to kind of trundle along, and Alpine now cornering him, and yeah, well, this is interesting. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, as update has been shown, and as of course was spoken by the Battle Cat joining VC momentarily, we are getting a restart in the session, and red flag has been deployed as more chaos unfolding. Alpine retiring the Mercedes, and now into the barrier. Yeah, this is great, K5, but please retire, please. The quicker you retire, the quicker we can move on. Thank you. Anyway. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, everyone retiring from the session. Red flag has been deployed before the race could even get going. So once we get into a new lobby, we will be green flag, ready to go, racing underway. So let's obviously pay no attention to this result, but the point being we will have, of course, a restart in the session. Red flag deployed. Shall be back just momentarily, and then we'll be back to commentary action. While in the meantime, you can keep looking at whatever's happening on my screen. No light stream to give me that help, but whoever is controlling light stream, stop controlling light stream, please. Alrighty, be back in a sec. Alrighty, hello everyone. Welcome back to this screen. Actually, you weren't here for this screen because the idea was to have a nice smooth transition into both sessions, but unfortunately, things do happen. We've had to have a little restart, and it does mean we are where we are. I need to get the stream up, clearly. We've had a few little problems apparently on the light stream side, but overall feeling pretty good. There we go. 19 viewers. Happy to have everyone here this evening. And hello, everyone in the Twitch chat. First time looking at everyone this evening. Anyway, so restarting the session, red flag deployed. So what we will be doing is getting the grid reordered and in the correct area. Obviously, people like Websy and, of course, Yusuf Goat will be near towards the back of the field. Anyone who practically didn't pick up some type of grid penalty will be where they finished, or any type of issue that was unrelated to the restart will be in their position that they finished in originally. So it will still be McJammy Dodge on pole position. It will still be the championship contenders separated by quite a large margin, and the rest of the drivers should be in a pretty similar or exact position that they were previously. So we are very close to getting going actually this time. But for the time being, we are where we are. And apologies for any barking in the background. My dog is a bit vocal today. But yeah, no, apart from that, it is just going to be the waiting game now. And once we finally do get back into it, it should be an exciting race ahead. As you can see, though, that little cloud has a little mystery question mark on it. So if we do get some rain, I'll make sure to pop up the weather radar on my live telemetry, and we can have a good little look at what the weather is saying. Either way, hope we are all well this evening. Obviously, we all do apologise for any type of issue that has occurred on stream. Seems to be all good now, and of course, on the side of red flags, of course, it's a little annoying, but please be patient with us. You know, these things do happen, and we all know how incompetent EA is. So, you know, it's a work in progress, but we are getting there. And yeah, once we get it all sorted, there'll be racing action for us all, and we can all enjoy the action ahead. But let's do some quick hellos ahead. Obviously, there's no point. Guys, I never have the Twitch chat open because you guys distract me so much. So I do apologize if you were telling me to, if you were telling me that there was a red flag in the Twitch chat. I do apologize. But let's say hello. Obviously, hello to Tyrone, Blurs, Broseph Coop, of course, in the chat. Battlecat as well. Ashton, as always. Amy Failure. All very much a pleasure to be here as always. Ashton says the engine doesn't even sound that bad, and I'm assuming that's for the Ferrari. Ashton, I hope you know you are well and truly incorrect. It does sound like a vacuum. Battlecat, welcome back to the VC.
JP, how you doing, mate? Yeah, so we're just at a little bit of a pause while we set the qualifying grid. We're going to go as per the end of quali. So I think it's Websy Yusuf and then Saucy based on his quali ban. So it shouldn't be too long before we kick off again. So yeah, I was just jumping around. I didn't even see the times. I don't even know who finished first. So maybe
It's on the
anything that popped
stream,
out for
but
you in terms of positions, anything that popped out
any.
for you?
Ooh. Okay, anything that popped out and looked interesting okay. To be honest, I've never heard of Josh Rizochlin, so unless it's a driver who's changed their name to that, yeah, I thought, yep. I thought so, simply because of the Riz pun. Surely this isn't their actual names, and it's just like because of the Riz pun, they gotta have it in there. I'm unsure. Either way, we are starting to tick away, as I can clearly see. Obviously, we appreciate all the work you do in the background. I know it's a little stressful at times, but yeah.
We're gonna be green, so we've got green flags. Boys are ready enough now. They've just got to set up their just got to add their setups and their strategies. So hopefully people won't ready up immediately. But I'll jump back over to the comms box for the Ferrari boys. I might jump in if there's.
Yep. Devo is the team principal of McLaren, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I thought so.
He's a T3 driver, if I'm not mistaken. So
Oh, I see.
see how he goes in T1.
Alrighty, well, cheers, mate. Pleasure as always.
Thanks, mate. See ya.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, with that said and done, we now return back to the racing action, and this time with Twitch chat open, as well as Discord hopefully notifying me for the future. I can actually tell you when there is going to be a restart, so cheers to any issues that did occur, and obviously we do apologize for any technical difficulties, both on the stream with Lightstream, and also just in general with the restarts out on circuit. But hopefully, this time round, it can be the final restart that we will have to witness, and we can get underway for some incredible action ahead of us. Should be an exciting one, obviously. Good getaway in the beginning, but we get to do it all over again. Obviously, as soon as I saw there were a few incidents near towards the back of the field, I did believe we were going to have a restart, so hopefully it won't be so chaotic or carnage-filled as we saw the first time round, and it can be a nice, smooth, clean getaway for all drivers with a few nice overtakes to commentate on top of. But this is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. Hold your breaths. Pit crews are ready, stretched, and waiting for any immediate and emergency pit stops that may come their way. The fans gasping with excitement, knowing the 5 red lights are ready to flicker away for an incredible amount of racing ahead. 31 laps on a 5.063 kilometer circuit. We go again. 5 red lights. The lights go out and it's pedal to metal here in Singapore at the Marina Bay Street Circuit. Checkered flag looking for the inside line, looking to make the move against Ferrari, and does so successfully for the time being. Ferrari on the outside line looking to get the throttle down slightly quicker, but he's squeezed wide. Does Ferrari have the opening he wants? No, he doesn't. Checkered flag takes the lead, and by the time they reach turn 4, it's all said and done. Ferrari loses 2, off to a bad start, and Haas now takes P2 away from him. Look at the Alpine to follow in close pursuit. He's got the slipstream in tow. Aston Martin battling away. Fins in P5. Rizochlin now looking to try and bring himself a little bit closer, but no, stays behind the Ferrari in P4. And P3 still being held and defended by the current championship contender in P2. A little lower down, Tyler FF in P6 looking to get a nice slipstream in tow to Fins. It's been an exciting start here to Formula 1 and Inters Racing League. Here in Tier 1, round 11, Marina Bay under the lights, and it seems to be pretty clear on the weather side. Kick Sauber looking to send it down the inside, gets stuck on the curb and sends the Mercedes into the barrier, and now there's a big pile up near towards the end of the field, in the rear end of the field, and it does seem to be a lot of debris now spread out onto the circuit, and it seems now Devastator with a penalty against his name, Aussie 2K Goat, with potential damage, and that has gone horrifically wrong for all drivers involved, and that has now brought out the virtual safety car immediately. And it does mean just a slowdown in pace for anyone that is unsure on how a VSC works. A Delta is now deployed. No physical safety car will be brought out. And after a period of time, the Delta will leave. Green flags will be deployed and will be back to racing action. The Delta just keeps the drivers in the same spot. DRS active and green flag has now brought the action back underway, and now you can see checkered flag in P1 starting to be pressurized by Aiden Riziums behind in the Haas. P2 with a a nice slipstream in tow. He's going to start to build the momentum on the inside. Most likely he's going to send it, and Haas does start to do so. Closes the rear wing. DRS shuts, and now it is a tussle for position for P1. The race lead is under threat, and the checkered flag V-Carb looking to hold it, but not for much longer before eventually the outside helping him, and it does mean Aiden Riziums needs to back out of it. Back down to P2 with Ferrari still starting to climb back up, scratch and claw his way through as the name of Meowsy starts to pun in a little bit more. Josh Rizochlin still right behind in P4 in close contention. He's not separated by much, but he's just looking for that opening. DRS obviously now active for checkered flag, or no, sorry, Aiden Riziums, who now finally takes the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix here in Marina Bay. Checkered flag now falls down to P2 with McJammy Dodge, who would normally get DRS going into this straight if it was the most recent update to the layout. Unfortunately, though, not on this occasion. Ferrari, though, will now go into turns 18 and 19, trying to hunt down the V-Carb driver. He'll have DRS on V-Carb. V-Carb will have DRS on Aiden Riziums, and Aiden needs to make it a practically imperative mission to get past the V-Carb driver, at least more specifically a 1 second deficit of the V-Carb driver as quickly as possible, to allow him to have the best opportunity at a win, or at least the best opportunity at leading by quite a long extent without anyone trying to interrupt him. For the time being, though, it is still checkered flag who's going to start to close in on the gap, and Haas still has a fight on his hands and a good defense ahead of him. Either way, McJammy Dodge really starting to pile on the pressure, but this is how tight and hard it is to overtake here in Singapore. There's practically no overtaking opportunities if you get stuck in a DRS train. You need to be right on the rear end of a car, practically your front wing making contact with the rear diffuser, allowing an overtake to occur. But in other situations, it's just very unlikely you'll get the move done if a driver ahead has the DRS, and that is exactly what we are seeing near the front end of this field. From P7 all the way to P1, a DRS train has formed, and then there's another one starting to form a little bit further down between three cars, K5, M5, Farmer Sam, and Mr. Cool Cars Verk, losing position to Sawzity, and a slight debris now spread on the very end out of the exit of turn number 13, but everything seemingly starting to smoothen out apart from that VSC that was deployed from the pile up on lap 1. Aiden Riziums crosses the line in the lead of this race. Fastest laps continuing to be shared and changed. A 1:30.155 for KLX in the Mercedes. Ferrari and McJammy Dodge still well and truly in close contention to the V-Carb, but he's not getting that opening. That DRS is still shutting him out of any opportunity, and due to everyone else getting DRS, and due to how closely tight and overall the fighting in general, it is still just too close for anyone to make the overtake stick, and just not enough room for anyone to really make an overtake in general. Battlecat says there is a technical issue for Meowsy, battling poor Italian manufacturing issues. I see. Josh Rizochlin in P4 with a nice slipstream in tow behind McJammy Dodge. And as I mentioned, a bit of a DRS train is going to kind of stop much of that action from changing for the time being. It's just going to try and work with this big group of cars to potentially try and break away, but it is going to be a very tough challenge to pull off, as all drivers will be relying on the DRS to stick very close to one another without any of it really changing. Obviously, as I mentioned, Singapore's a very tough circuit to overtake at, very technically challenging, quite a tight and diverse circuit with lots of different straights, corners, and a mixture of chicanes to follow as well. And it just means there is quite the challenge ahead for these drivers when it comes to trying to make an overtake, as we've seen so far. Someone into the pit lane, that is Devastator, the team principal for McLaren, now down in P20 as we saw previously, but serving most likely his penalty that he had received coming out of the pit lane on a new set of tyres. And we do apologise for the lack of telemetry on display. We'll get that up for you lovely people watching. Obviously you can see from P16 above, all of them on the mediums, so it does seem as if it is going to be quite a similar strategy for a lot of these drivers, mainly falling down on one of two plans at least, which should see the medium compound runners boxing around lap 11 to lap 16, potentially one lap later than that, simply due to the fact that we had a VSC for around half a lap, which could help with overall just conserving of the tyres and fuel and just allowing you to extend your run a little bit further. McJammy Dodge still with a nice slipstream and tow to checkered flag ahead, but he's just not close enough to make the move stick. He's still nowhere further ahead of Josh Rizochlin and the other drivers in this DRS train, and it just means it's going to be this constant pressurization, but a lack of mistakes by any of these drivers does mean a DRS train is starting to form, and a nice slowdown of the action as it is starting to just be a bit more of the conservation of tyres and fuel. Make sure you look after everything, make sure you're staying competitive, staying consistent with your lap times, making sure to stay inside that DRS train and just allow yourself to keep going along on this train, and you should be able to get yourself a nice opportunity later into the race. KLX down the inside, Mercedes now making his way up to P6 with Tyler FF falling down to P7. And now seems Josh Rizochlin in P4, losing a little bit of time in that first sector, and seems to be where he's losing that time for the time being. Those tyres clearly not happy, or at least more on the setup side, maybe just carrying less downforce, and just does mean when it comes to straights like that, and when that rear wing is open, he can just extend himself a little bit more and make a bit more in terms of time found. But the Ferrari of McJammy Dodge still 2.5 tenths, 3 tenths off checkered flag ahead, and Aiden Rizium still in P1, cruising along around the technically challenging parts of the circuit, anywhere between turns 10 to 13, and now continuing. But have a look at this, a lovely little helicopter shot that we were on board with, and now we get to see checkered flag really starting to close in here, and this is exactly what the Ferrari of McJammy Dodge needs. It's wheel-to-wheel and a tussle for the race lead again, and Alpine really starting to bump up to the rear diffuser of the Ferrari, still tussling away, but it means that Ferrari's closed in on the V-carb. No DRS down this back straight, and Ferrari knows he needs to make the move, but he can't be desperate, and it does mean he stays in P3 for the time being. Whoever finishes ahead, whoever is ahead of other drivers going into the pit lane will really start to benefit later on, simply because of track position being so valuable due to DRS train not really changing any of the gaps and positions in general. And it did seem something may have been on from a nice little bit of action on circuit, but unfortunately that DRS has helped just extend it out a little bit further. And of course the technicality and tightness of the circuit avoided any real opportunity for anyone to make a move, and Ferrari continues this chase all the way for higher podium positions, not getting it, and he needed that good getaway off the line, going a little further down, and it does seem to be a yellow flag for the Haas driver of Sawsity making a mistake at some point, or was it the McLaren of Devo? He is now been blue flagged. Websy in P9, currently making his way through the second sector, and it's been quite a good push from the McLaren driver so far. If we look at position so far, we can see he's made 9 up from where he started in P18. Mr. Cool Cars losing out on 1 from where he originally started, and obviously McLaren does have the pace this weekend. He's feeling good. I saw his time trial run, and he's done well. He is well and truly competitive here in Singapore. Unfortunately, it was simply due to qualifying that he's found himself so low down, but Singapore is a long race, and it does go on for quite a while. 31 laps in total, lap 7 currently that we are on, and almost reaches a 2-hour mark for how long this race goes on for. So yeah, realistically, Websy has all the opportunities in the world to try and gain back as much time as possible, but it isn't going to be an easy thing for the McLaren to pull off, especially with McJammy Dodge just having a little bit more of DRS. Think about DRS. He's 1.3 off Farmer Sam in P8. Meanwhile, McJammy Dodge is only 2 tenths off checkered flag, continuing to get that DRS as he is in a DRS train. Does mean he's cancelling out a little bit of his time, but the train in general will still be continuing to help these drivers out in terms of pushing them a little further up throughout the circuit and away from other drivers that may be behind. McJammy Dodge had another good opportunity as Aiden Rizium's and checkered flag switch for position, so checkered flag back in P1 now, but McJammy Dodge still in P3 and still looking to try and make a move on the Haas, which has still been quite unsuccessful. And this is Singapore, ladies and gentlemen. This could be the remainder of this race, even after everyone comes into the pit lane. And if there are no safety cars or VSCs, then take a good hard look at how this race is following out, because these could be the final positions by the end of it. If nothing does change, I mean, all you have to do is have the pace on your side, make sure you're consistent, and make sure you're in the DRS, and you practically have already defended the driver behind. But Ferrari, this is where he needs to make the move. This is his real opportunistic chance. Not this lap specifically, but that corner, turn 16 and 17, going into the final chicane. That is what he needs to kind of benefit from. He needs to benefit from the lack of DRS, because he needs a good clean exit, use the toe from the Haas ahead, and that is when Ferrari may get the opportunity to set down a move. Josh Rizochlin in the Alpine P5, still trying to close in on the Williams ahead, but majority of this top 10 will not change or differ. But Websy has really started to close down that gap. It went from 1.3 to 5 tenths now, and the McLaren still doing well for the time being, as he continues to try and close in on the Aston Martin, and it should be a pretty smooth, easy move, no DRS for the Aston. And this is the great thing about Singapore, when you finally do get an opportunity to battle away, and there isn't a big train, and there isn't constant drivers pretty much stopping you from making a move. Let's say if it is a one-on-one battle like this one with the McLaren driver, who now goes up to P8. Let's say it was checkered flag against Aiden Riziums in a one-on-one fight for the race lead and for the race win. Then a move could be much easily, is easier for a move to be made, simply due to the fact that there is only one person picking up DRS. There's only one real point. Sorry, I'm waffling along here. Pretty much, it would be easier for fighting to occur, simply because there wouldn't be a huge train for DRS to occur, causing everyone to be pressurized from behind, and also meaning that you don't have to conserve and wait as long, and moves are easier to be done. Broseph Coop says Aiden is gunning for that chip. He'll need more help like this to catch Websy, though. Gunning for the chip, for the championship. I mean, that's a long kind of line you're kind of going down. I mean, Aiden Rizium's 119 points. Websy's on 230. I mean, I could quickly calculate how far away he'd be to the leader. Actually, I don't even need to. He's 111 points off Websy. And that's not even considering McJammy Dodge. That's not considering Yusuf Goat, who he's still in a close fight with at the moment. I mean, not specifically on circuit, but in the championship in general. It seems so unlikely, but it's not impossible at this point. I mean, if that window is open for Aiden Riziums to come back and win the championship, you know, he can go for it, but his likelihood is quite low, and I do definitely disagree with the idea that he'd pick up the championship this season. Obviously, that's just personally my opinion. That's personally how I see it. I think view-wise, I just think it's a little too much too late. You know, he's trying to do as much as possible, but in such a short period of time. The likelihood of him picking up that championship is just unlikely. I mean, it's not impossible, but he'll need to practically go for win after win after win after win, including fastest laps every single time. You've got a kick Sauber stopping on circuit. That's Shawnee in P19, and the green and black car just struggling a little bit to get going once again, but 17 seconds off Salisbury in P18 in the Haas. Broseph Coop says, it's a stretch, I get it. Yeah, it definitely is a stretch, to say the least. Aiden Rizium's picking up the championship. But, you know, if he does do it, it would be quite the catastrophe for Websy, who currently is in P8 3.3 off Tyler FF and P7, but I don't know. It would be a catastrophe for Websy, because he's managed to bottle what was quite a strong championship lead at this point, 51 points. This is, of course, what McJammy Dodge wants. He wanted a poor qualifying from Websy, because it wouldn't be an easy thing to kind of go and make positions, and it's exactly kind of the position that McJammy Dodge wants to be, because he'll close in on that 51-point margin. There's also why McJammy Dodge wants to pick up the win, because he's obviously going to then substantially close in on Websy in P8. But, of course, the drivers ahead are just making it a little bit too difficult for him. So, I don't know. It definitely is a stretch. I doubt that Aiden Riziums would win the championship this season. But, of course, it isn't possible. It is a stretch, and we'll have to wait and see later on. It is only round 11, of course. Next round, going into round 12, it will be Albert Park. But if I'm not wrong, we have 19 rounds in total out of this entire calendar. So, with 8 rounds after this one, the overall amount of time, the amount of points he needs to pick up is definitely going to be a bit of a push for the Haas driver. Not impossible though. Either way, enough about that one. Josh Rizochlin goes up to P4, at least was fighting away with SFR Finns in P5. And of course, Mr. Finns himself, Williams, has been on the back foot as of late. He hasn't carried the same amount of pace and overall the same amount of competitiveness as we have previously seen from the Williams driver. Of course, he previously was, one of the faster drivers on the field, picking up podiums. He even picked up, I believe, 2 wins this season. But coming into this latter part of the season, at least since the halfway mark of IRL calendar, it's not been the same SFR Finns that we saw previously. So it's been a little bit of a back foot step, as I mentioned. But Williams trying to get some of that pace back. He's not exactly lost all that pace out, but it's been more midfield positions than podium positions as of late for the Williams driver. Below it says, I'm feeling a checkered spin out of the chicane. I don't know why, guys. Last chicane. And apparently that's not the first person to say so. So they're saying checkered flag will have a little spin going into turns 16 and 17 at the final chicane, which is quite a surprising thing to say. Aiden Riziums is going to find another opportunity to make the move, and now does make the move going into the chicane, and will-to-will action. That was nearly contact at one point. Haas now gets a fantastic switchback, and as Haas just blocked the opportunity for VCarb to come to the pit lane, what's actually occurred is, due to the Haas practically needing to step on the brakes for the inside line, Josh Rizochlin goes from P4 to P1, so a fantastic switch in position. That happened so quickly I couldn't even react to it. Aiden Riziums, what, oh my god! So, catch-up time, ladies and gentlemen, because a lot of things just occurred in a very short period of time, and I'm sure we're all starting to catch up here, but practically, VCarb of checkered flag wanted to come into the pit lane, got blocked out by the Haas, who was on the inside. Because he was on the inside, need to tap on the brakes. Haas then got tapped by what seemed to be McJammy Dodge from behind, who now moved up into P2, due to McJammy Dodge losing time because of the V-carb braking. Sorry, not braking, not the V-carb. Sorry, it would have been Josh Rizochlin who was... No. Oh, man, there's so many people and so many things that just occurred. But McJammy Dodge, he pretty much got slowed down due to someone tapping on the brakes, and it slowed him down. That allowed Josh Rizochlin through for the Alpine. KLX then came through due to the Ferrari and whoever else who was slowing down. It then caught, it was Aiden Rizium, sorry, in P6 in the Haas. And then it also allowed Finns momentarily to get past the Ferrari, and then going into turn 3, they all just kind of got squished into a barrier. But it all happened so quickly in a period of 2 corners. That was something. I'm still trying to catch up on what happened. Either way, Josh Rizochlin coming into the pit lane. I did see a bit of front wing damage as well going into turn 3, so there could be some issues on that side. Aiden Riziums in P3, the Haas driver, currently 2.6 off McJammy Dodge. And the Ferrari, who was only 0.2 off KLX. And the Mercedes and KLX actually kicking out on the rear there. And finally, for one man and one man alone, that man has been looking for P1 for a long period of time, and now does actually get it. He waited, and finally the Ferrari is up into the race lead. And KLX falling down to P2 with Aiden Riziums recovering from that, what seemed to be that tap on the brake and loss in position, who now finds himself in P3, obviously with the benefit of people coming into the pit lane. Will it become a disadvantage on the undercut side? I'm unsure, but this is what McJammy Dodge needed. He realistically maybe wanted to be in P2 due to DRS, but he's now broken that 1 second deficit, or at least practically broken that 1 second deficit. Rear wing will help close it back in, but McJammy Dodge is on the verge of practically running his own race, and we all knew that Ferrari had the pace, he just didn't have the opening, and finally, with him in clean air, with no traffic ahead, with no need to worry about some type of DRS train, he'll have at least a significant amount of this lap with no DRS to potentially pull away ahead, but no, he isn't going to extend his stint any further. Neither is the Mercedes behind. Aiden Riziums is going to follow, and I can see a long line of drivers who are yet to come into the pit lane, who will be now making their positions lost out, because it seems to be Checkered Flag, who is on one lap hold, hard compound tyres, who practically lost out no positions down to P5, so actually benefit quite well from undercutting here, and he will find himself now up into P1 very easily. Websy with a 29.898, and has Websy set himself on a new set of tyres? He has. So Websy at some point as well has come to the pit lane, and actually he boxed before Josh Rizochlin did, and he boxed at the same point that Checkered Flag did. So this is the whole reason McLaren's now coming through the field, because he's gone on the same strategy as Checkered Flag and has now found that time, and not even the time, he's also found that pace, and is on the same strategy as the current, at least the new race leaders will be finding. So it all started off as a nice DRS train, and Websy's taken this opportunity with how close it was to follow in a bit more of an undercut strategy, pursuing Checkered Flag, who now takes the lead of the race, and it's now Websy who's only 1.8 Liquid Jake and roughly 2 seconds off Checkered Flag in P1. So yeah, this has been quite the step up for the McLaren of Websy, and exactly what he wanted, with the Alpine of Josh Rizochlin right behind, looking to still pressurize the McLaren for the time being. So let's look at the Twitch chat, because there was a lot happening in that small period of time. I'm feeling a Checkered Flag spin out. I see it coming. Ha ha ha, there it is. Comms curse complete. The comms curse was so cursed, I lost track on what was happening at whatever point. Oh, hello there, Devastator. Unfortunately, retiring out on circuit seemed to be some type of mistake and has caused debris on circuit, and safety car has now been deployed, and this actually intrigues me. What is the move now? Because Liquid Jake's now decided to stay out. He's going to probably become one of the biggest beneficiaries of this safety car. He's going to box. He's only going to lose out maybe 14 seconds instead of the original amount of time you usually lose out from the pit lane. So Williams will come out in what I will believe it will be P9 due to the delta that all the drivers are following as well. Checkered Flag is still going to be in P1. Websy's now in P2 and 7.5 tenths off. So Websy's going to be right on the rear end of the V-carb. Josh Rizochlin in P3 will now be there, and you could quite easily say this has been a bit of a stuff up for drivers behind who may have wanted to come into the pit lane. At the same point, you could also argue that people coming into the pit lane now due to the safety car has still lost out in terms of positions. So it's definitely an intriguing one to consider, and who would be where if that situation had changed in any type of scenario. But Ferrari's in P4, Websy's in P2, and that is quite a sentence to say, simply because from the start of this race, McLaren started P18 and Ferrari started in P1 on pole. So yeah, that's quite the switch around, and has led to quite a scenario where we are now. But now we have a nice old GT Black Series, the Mercedes, with its V8 bi-turbo engine, producing just under 750 brake horsepower on circuit, rolling around, providing a safer environment for these drivers to continue to race in as debris continues to get cleaned up. Whew, chaotic, to say the least. Let's just say that. Chaotic, to say the least. It has been an interesting couple of laps ever since people need to come into the pit lane. It all started when that little bit of a turn 3 pile-up occurred, where debris kind of spread out. No VSC, though. It was all cleaned up before anything needed to come out. And then we got to this point where obviously people who box first have undercut the people who box later. So now Checkered Flag, Websy, Josh Rizochlin, all ahead of people like McJammy Dodge, KLX, Aiden Riziums, who boxed a little later. And it just means now that these guys who, rather they were in their position, quite high up, or they've made their way through the field, have, a series of unfortunate events would be kind of the wordplay you would use. It's been a very interesting couple of laps that have led to a lot of interesting things. And as a commentator, I've kind of needed to compute them all because they've all happened so incredibly quickly. But yeah, well and truly a series of unfortunate events that have led to here we are now under safety car conditions, lap 17 of 31. I wish we had a replay function because, man, we have needed some good highlights and recaps of everything that's happened so far. We can actually catch up and do almost Le Mans 24-hour style, 1 hour, what's happened in the previous hour of racing and why it has happened, but we don't get it. Lil Sheldon says this game is so bad, but we still play it. Well, what are we gonna play on? We could do Gran Turismo with super formulas. We could do iRacing. I don't have a PC. Oof, it's a tough one, really. I don't know many games where we could kind of do what we do on F1. We could do Project Cars 2, and everyone just gets into like an open seater. We could do Assetto Corsa. There are options out there, it's just not many. SC really stuffed strategy, yeah, it's stuffed a lot of people's strategies up for sure. I mean, the undercut that a lot of these drivers were kind of hoping for has kind of been cancelled out now because due to the tyre deficit, people like Checkered Flag, Websy, and Josh Rizochlin are now going to be on 4 to 3 lap old hard compound tyres. Meanwhile, McJammy, Dodge, and people behind will be anywhere between 2 to 3 lap old hard compound tyres. So even though it's only 1 to 2 laps of a difference, when we consider let's say they reach 15 laps on the hard compound tyres compared to 12 laps on the hard compound tyres, then we're really going to start to see quite a deficit in terms of pace and tyre degradation. So for anyone that doesn't know, of course, we're on the softest compounds in the Pirelli range, the C3s, 4s and 5s, and it does also mean, even with expected tyre wear, it's still 1.7% per lap. So when you take that into consideration, 1.7% per lap. I mean, even drivers behind like Farmer Sam, Finns, Mr. Cool Cars, Aussie 2K, all of them on the mediums will be suffering 3% in terms of tyre wear per lap. Of course, the whole tyre wear per lap gets cancelled out because of safety cars. So once we get back under racing action, it's going to be roughly 1.7% per lap in terms of tyre degradation that these drivers on the hards will be feeling, and that will be a huge difference, maybe around 3 to 4% in terms of tyre degradation, in terms of a difference for people who may be on 15 lap old hards compared to 13 lap old hards. So even though it's only 2 laps in terms of tyre deficit, it will play a very big role later into this race, because it most likely will be the final pit stop of the session, unless there is another safety car that is brought out later. But another thing that has occurred as well, due to the fact that there is another safety car that has been brought, or not another one specifically for this race, but due to the fact that a safety car has been brought out in this race, we still keep the 100% statistic of a safety car being brought out. So pretty much by it being 100%, every single real life and virtual race that has ever occurred in Singapore has had at least one safety car. Not every virtual race, but at least in terms of IRL, it seems to be pretty common that one gets, brought up. So, safety car in this lap. Checkered Flag, P1. He went for the undercut. He made it back through into P1. Websy went on the same strategy, boxing at a similar point, and it meant that he could get up into P2. But now the hunt is on. The championship contenders have switched position, and it's green flag running. Here in Marina Bay in Singapore, it's lap 19 of 31. McLaren looked for the inside line, couldn't get it done, and VCARB defends well. But McLaren is currently on a neck-and-neck battle between him and P1 for the time being. Josh Rizochlin, only 4.5 tenths off Websy in P2. He needs to stay where he is to keep the DRS train alive. McJammy Dodge, 3 tenths currently off what seems to be the Alpine of Josh Rizochlin, and Websy still right on the verge, currently touching the rear diffuser of the VCARB car. And it's just looking for the right moment, looking for the right opportunity, trying to be the best opportunistic driver that he can be and make the move stick and get up into the race lead. Websy currently in P2. but he wants to change. He so desperately is looking for it. Singapore offering tight, close racing and just not giving him an inch. But I know he wants it more than anything. And Websy now out of the exit of turn 13, flat to the floor, pedal to metal, looking for it. But no, not close enough on this occasion. Josh Rizochlin behind in P3 is still chasing behind the McLaren driver. McJammy Dodge also starting to close in a little bit more. And we have a DRS train once again, but in a different order. And this has worked out well for the McLaren, at least momentarily. Websy will be happy to be into P2 and fighting for the race lead from where he started in P18 if he picks up the win. That is exactly what Websy would have wanted. It destroys the dreams of what Adam Riziums would have wanted to potentially fight in the championship, and it still continues to destroy the dreams of McJammy Dodge looking to fight in the championship with Websy and potentially bring it home to Maranello. Right now, it is bringing it home back to Woking due to the absolute incredible racing that we have seen on Websy's side, making his way through the field, having the correct strategy, and with DRS, he'll go to the inside line, and before we can even blink, he has taken the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix here in Marina Bay, and now it favours for the McLaren driver, who takes it away from Checkered Flag, and the V-Carb now on the disadvantage. He'll have DRS and he needs to use every single moment that he can to use it, while McLaren will be looking to try and extend himself away from the V-Carb. If McLaren breaks a 1 second deficit before Checkered Flag can pick up DRS once again, which he won't, at least not yet, then McLaren is practically going to come home in a guaranteed spot in P1 with no safety car at least to be deployed for the time being. I mean, look how close McJammy Dodge is. Meowsy wants this. He knows he needs it. It's no longer just, oh, maybe I make this position soon. Websy's in P1. He's practically broken a 1 second deficit, and Ferrari needs to make the move soon if he wants to stay competitive with his championship rival, who currently finds himself in P1 and is looking to extend himself in P1. We have roughly 8 rounds remaining. Next round, Albert Park. But here in Singapore, Websy wants to make it absolutely certain that no one else can beat him out. But oh, Websy's unfortunately disconnected, and it has caused that the McLaren is now slowed down by quite a large amount now. Upshifting through the gears, and Checkered Flag's going to take it, swooping on the inside line, and Josh Rizochlin's going to follow, and Websy had it in his favour, but it will not matter. McJammy Dodge is going to follow. McLaren has just disconnected, and it's tragedy for McLaren. Ferrari's now up into P3, Josh Rizochlin into P2, and Checkered Flag's in P1. The race lead changes, the top 3 changes. Websy's down to P6, and it's falling apart in a moment's notice. I'm cursing this at the moment. I'm actually, and big collision. Websy makes contact with the barrier. He got squeezed out by Yusuf Goat. Safety cars deployed. Oh no, and before Websy could even think about reconnecting, it's done. The McLaren is out of this race. He follows in the footsteps of Devastator, and he couldn't even change anything. He was out of control of the car. Ladies and gentlemen, EA Sports. What the hell? Checkered Flag, P1, Josh Rizochlin, P2, and McJammy Dodge back up into the top 3, and not even in the top 10 is Websy, not even in the top 18 is Websy. He's unfortunately, it really is disappointing. It really is. I mean, quite simply, McLaren... It's tough to speak upon, but realistically, McLaren, he disconnected, and I believe it was Yusuf Goat, but don't quote me on that, on who that may have been. Red Bull are double stacking. This could be an issue with traffic, but seems to get by no problem. And yeah, a few different teams double stacking. They have to get onto a new set of the tyres, but Finn's Farmer Sam, Sir Joshi, and Sawzity all deciding to stay out on those tyres, thinking that the tightness and harsh conditions in terms of racing for Singapore could stop an overtake being made. Checkered Flag still comes out in net lead with looks to be Josh Rizochlin now there, and clearly McJammy Dodge has lost a few positions because of the pit lane, I guess, chaos in terms of traffic in the pit lane. He must have been caught up, had to slow down, and it does mean that McJammy Dodge is now down to P8 in this race. But yeah, alright, quite simply, to catch up on everything that just occurred. Websy disconnected from the session. He was in the race lead, worked hard to get to it, disconnected unfortunately. Did mean that he lost out on all the positions he did make in the beginning. Finishes now in P19 after coming to this corner, and you see the wall right behind it, the Lenovo wall. He unfortunately was squeezed out by a driver, lost his front right tyre, and that was all she wrote for the McLaren driver, who couldn't even retake control over the car. He had disconnected, and everything that occurred to him was completely out of his control. So Websy will be, to be honest, I think disappointed would be a light, I mean extremely, extravagantly light word to use. I think really fucking angry is the word to use in that situation. And I apologize for any language that I have just said on stream. You know me, I don't usually swear on stream, but you know it is quite a bad situation, and it's another EA does it again moment, and yeah. And Devastator says, I cannot speak. If I speak, I am in big trouble. Yeah, it is one of those situations. If I speak, I'm in big trouble. His console has been resetting a lot. Is he would be on, I'm not sure. Is he on PS4, PS5? Because PS4 does like to reset a lot, so. I missed the DNF, what happened? So, practically, McLaren of Websy, and we'll go over this last time, so anyone, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you are all starting to tune into the stream. Pretty much, what occurred is the McLaren of Websy had disconnected from this session. Then he started to lose out on positions. You'd think, okay, he's just going to reconnect and try and fight through the field. It's disappointing, but he's not out. And then Websy went into the next couple of corners. I believe it was turn 11, and Yusuf squeezed the McLaren out, killing him as put by Devastator. And Websy's now out of the session. Didn't even get to take re-control of the car. EA, shitty servers, and has meant safety car is out. Again, apologies for the language. And we are now here on lap 23 of 31 with safety car deployed, and Williams 5/10 ahead of Farmer Sam in P2. Sir Joshi 7/10 behind Farmer Sam in P3. And of course, all those positions will start to tighten up and close in as safety car, as I presume, will be in at the end of this lap. The GT Black Series, and obviously driven by Burt Mylander, goes around again, but there you go, safety car is in this lap. Race control has made the decision. Websy is out of this race, and what started with an incredible push from P18 to P1 has fallen back to a retirement. Safety car was deployed. Safety car now back in. Lap 23 of 31, and now it is Finns, a man who has not seen victory since the first couple of races. I believe it was Silverstone, all the way back in the British Grand Prix, was his last Grand Prix victory. Will he be able to come back for victory tonight on 7-lap old mediums? I do doubt it, but he will push all the way to the very end. It will be Williams who dictates the pace. Here on safety car restart, and here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit, it's green flag running all over again here in Singapore. And Farmer Sam in P2 looking to bring himself a little bit closer for the time being, but Aston Martin behind and will stay where he is. Sir Joshi in the kick saber in P3, 4/10 off Farmer Sam, but will not find any type of contention to making a move. A little further down, Sawsity in the Haas P4 with 9-lap old medium compound tyres, and it's from Checkered Flag above, who has the new tyres in this favour. They've gone for the mediums. Meanwhile, Josh Rizochlin and KLX have gone for the soft compound tyres, and it is split down the middle in terms of tyre decision. Some people have gone for the C5s, some have gone for the C4s. At the end of the day, it's going to be an exciting fight all the way to the Checkered Flag. Lap 24 of 31, we have 7 laps remaining, technically 8 if we include this one, and it is Checkered Flag who currently is tightened out of any opportunity. Finns are still in P1, and it isn't like you can make move after move after move immediately. Singapore's too tight to do that. It's got Monaco characteristics, but with more overtaking opportunities. It's just too tight at this current point. There's a DRS train that will form at the end of this lap going into the next if he can't continue to make the moves just yet. And it does mean that V-Cup is now well and truly on the back foot. But even further, McJammy Dodge has seen Webbsy retire, and he knows he's 51 points off him in P2 in the championship. That man needs it more than anyone else at this current time. His championship fight with Webbsy is closer than anyone else on the grid, but it will not matter because Ferrari is just way too far away for the opportunity. And all the way out in P1, lap 25 of 31, with DRS once again reinstated, it is the Williams of Fins who is in the lead and will continue to lead away as he defends against Farmer Sand from behind, who will now have DRS. And will the Aston Martin get the opportunity? He has the slipstream in tow. He goes to the inside line, and down the inside goes the British constructor. He rolls it late though. Sir Joshi looking to retake P2 away from the Aston Martin, defending well, a tussle for position, block the road and stay where they are. Josh Rizochlin with a 3-second time penalty. KLX will be loving that, so will McJammy Dodge behind as he may score another position out of it. Wow, oh wow, the racing is so tight and so close. It's practically a long worm of cars wriggling around the Marina Bay Street Circuit. Williams down in P18, slowed down a little bit further, seems to be missing an end plate. Mr. Cool Cars with a 3-second time penalty. Soft compound tyres near towards the end of the field. Mediums being used more towards the front. McJammy Dodge on the mediums, looking to extend potentially an opportunity. Those C5s, they completely die out in a matter of an instant. 5.7% in terms of tyre degradation per lap. Those soft compound tyres will be dead by the time you reach lap 26, lap 27. So realistically, the fight is for those medium runners who can conserve and look after the tyres just a little bit better. But at the same point, it is an all-out sprint, a rush you may say, all the way to the end of this race. And right now it is Ferrari who wants that opportunity to get past some of these drivers. But as we mentioned, Singapore wouldn't be Singapore without its Monaco characteristics, but a bit too close for comfort. He's going to use the battery. McJammy Dodge on the inside, switches to the outside, and going into the next couple of corners, he's going to stick inside track limits. It's Ferrari who goes up to P7 and continues for dear life to try and make his way through the field. I mean, Ferrari's practically watching an entire board of cars continuing to try and fight away. It's a worm. It practically is just train after train here in Singapore. And Marina Bay has offered it again, but even in closer contention, looking a little further up, it is Checkered Flag who tries once again to make a move stick against the Haas of Swordsity. He has the tyre grip. He's just not close enough. Is he going to send it down the inside? He looked for the notes, but he couldn't get it done just then. So once again, V-Carb stays where he is in P5. He's close, but he's just not close enough. Yellow flag momentarily deployed, but it goes back in, and it's still just not there yet. Singapore just offering too much, or too little, more specifically, too little opportunities. But have a look at Checkered Flag. He had a good exit, but no, DRS just stops it, and there just isn't the opportunities that Checkered Flag is looking for to making a move stick. I mean, it's hard just making one move. Imagine Checkered Flag gets up into P4. He still needs to get past Sir Joshi, Farmer Sam, and Fins in the Williams to potentially take this race win. He needs moments like this where cars are tussling away. He can start to close in, but will it even matter? Because, V-Carb making the move now against the Alpina Josh. So back up into P5. Ferrari and McJammy Dodge going to start battling away. Now Ferrari's up into P6. Does start to cancel out on that penalty from what Josh Rizochlin had. But I don't know, it really is just such an incredibly tight space of time. No one wants to give up for anyone. Checkered Flag right on the rear end of Sir Joshi. And this is a huge if these drivers who are on the newer tyres do get their opportunity in the sun, if they do get their opportunity to fight near the front of the field, it will be in the final couple laps of action. V-Carb Now getting past the kick Sauber in P5. Look at the Ferrari on the inside line. Is he going to make it 2? He has to. Down the inside goes McJamie Dodge. P2 in the championship. And he's trying to score the maximum amount of points he can get on display. There's no DRS for checkered flag. McJamie Dodge will have the momentum going into turn 1. And now braking late but braking early instead. Deciding not to go for an aggressive move. This is not the time for no desperation. You need the opportunities you can get. Singapore is a tough, tricky, technical circuit that will give you barely any opportunity to make it stick and count. Ferrari needs to make it now, and he does. Inside line, swoops around, shuts the DRS, closes the door, and up into P4 goes the Ferrari driver, who is now 1.2 seconds off Sorzity out of the exit of turn 9. Now slight apex, avoid the inside line, get the throttle down, and Ferrari still trying, pushing as hard as he can. If any man can do it, it's going to be McJamie Dodge. The Scuderia has been waiting for an opportunity where the consistency of Websy would break. Realistically, the last time we saw that was back in Belgium. McJamie Dodge scored some necessary points on the board. Websy made a mistake on the strategy side and he lost out big time. This case, it wasn't Websy's fault. It wasn't necessarily a mistake that the McLaren had made, but an opportunity had fallen into the hands of the Ferrari. And it does mean that now the hunt is on. Lap 29 of 31, and the Ferrari has taken the fastest lap of 1:29.037. He needs to make these moves quicker. He needs to almost show that desperation. Realistically, there's a saying that gets said when it comes to moments like this, and normally it comes down to the final couple of laps, and normally it comes down to maybe P1 and P2, but in this situation, are you desperate or are you confident? Do you have the confidence to make a move? Do you have the confidence to wait and then reassure yourself that making that move will be certain? But I would almost argue that the confidence is good in other circuits, but coming to Marina Bay, you need desperation. You need to claw your way through the field. You need to be aggressive, because if you don't fight for positions, if you're not fast enough, and if you don't decide, you know what, I have an opening, but I'm going to wait next lap round. If you decide to do that, then your opportunity at potential race wins, at podiums, will fall away in an instant. And McJamie Dodge needs to start thinking more desperately if he wants not only an opportunity on the podium, but also another opportunity to fight for the race win. He's got 2 laps, 3 including this one. The Ferrari needs to close in and make this move stick, and soon. Sir Joshi now down to P10, fighting away. Oh, people into the barrier, quick thinking. More damage out on circuit. The Haas has unfortunately made a mistake. That's Sorzity down to P7, or P10, even further down. Alpine of Josh Rizochlin now down to P8. And that is huge. A mammoth of debris now spread around the final couple of corners. And look at the position that McJamie Dodge is in. 1.2 seconds. Patience at that point. And having a look at who may have been involved there. Unfortunately, P2 and 3 colliding. Look at checkered flag with DRS down the inside. He is going to send it. And the V-carb on the inside curb. He's going to squeeze past the Ferrari. No, absolutely no hesitation. Made the move, stuck in stone. And checkered flag is now up to P2. But still, advantage is in the favor of Finns. Is it finally the move that they were looking for? Checkered flag retakes it away from McJamie Dodge. McJamie will have the DRS on checkered flag. Checkered flag 1.4 off, but these guys are going to fight for position. Finns will be loving this. Out in front with a 1.2 second deficit. McJamie Dodge and checkered flag will continue to fight away. And as this continues to occur, Ferrari will only be helping the Williams as he continues to pressurize the V-carb. But lap 30 of 31, it's been the penultimate lap of racing. But now, it comes down to this. The fireworks are set. The celebrations are ready. But they got to do one more lap, and it comes down to this. Lap 31 of 31. It's the final lap of racing here in Marina Bay in Singapore. And Checkered Flag has got a 6/10 and 5/10 deficit. Fins on 15 lap hold medium tyres. He's gonna have the DRS, does the V-Carb. Ferrari's gonna miss out. He wasn't aggressive enough. He didn't have the pace, and Checkered Flag closed in. K5M5 with a penalty. 3 seconds towards his name. V-Carb is still behind, but he has the grip. He has the traction. You can see those tires frictioning with the tarmac on the ground. The amount of rubber exuberating off the car has never been higher. The technicality of Singapore is helping Fins defend, and the Williams is looking for all opportunities. He's gasping for air. He's waiting to potentially see that checkered flag, but also, as the name says, him in P2, checkered flag. The V-Carb wants it himself, and now to the inside, down the inside goes the V-Carb driver. It's will to will. Finn's got the exit. It's bumping. They both want it. Ferrari now looking to the outside. He may retake P2. 16 and 17. The chicane opens up, battling away. Ferrari gets the throttle down, but Williams out in front. It was Silverstone. Now it's Singapore. Win number 3. It is SFO Fins who picks up the win in Marina Bay, and Ferrari comes home in P2. Aiden Riziums manages to sneak it away from Checkered Flag, who picks up the podium. And that is exactly the race we wanted to see. Marina Bay, turn it up to the max. The fireworks are lit and the celebrations ignite for a man who has not seen the win in almost, 10, even more than that races. Williams on top in Singapore. Cheers, everyone. We're still here, we're still alive. And in P3, by what I can only assume was around 36 hundredths of a second, Aiden Rizium sneaks in the Haas into the podium positions again. Websy, unfortunately, by a retirement out of his control, picks up 0 points. And this is the race. Out of anything, this was the race that McJammy Dodge needed. It could have been P1. It wasn't close enough. Fighting between the Williams and V-Carb. They could have kept it clean, and they could have had higher positions. But unfortunately, it is the V-Carb who finishes in P4, and it is the Williams, a man who has not seen the win since the start of the season, since the British Grand Prix. He will now spray the bubbly, the champagne, here in Singapore, the first ever night race to come back. And Marina Bay has offered some incredible action on display and has seen the Williams pick up the win. And there you go. Checkered Flag, who was fighting for the race lead, bumping with the side pod of Fins. Whoever's fault it may be, it does not matter anymore. Scuderia Ferrari HP in P2. And if Fins is given a podium, that could be maximum points for Ferrari if Fins is penalised for the squeeze. But whatever the case may be, McJammy Dodge comes home in P2. Aiden Riziums comes home in P3. And hang on a minute. What did I say in qualifying? Fins has had a loss of form. Fins has no longer been able to be the same driver he was at the start of the season. And that man defended like a king, comes home in P1. It's going to be a pleasure to interview all of these boys. We're in the Discord, we're already raiding, so when these boys want to join in, we can have a nice little chat to all of them about the action we have seen just then and there. My God, that was electric. Either way, we have a few people just joining in on the commentary box for interview rooms. Oh my God, Natalie Pinkman. Why is Daniel Ricciardo on my screen? What is happening? I don't care about... Okay, hang on. Please. Natalie Pinkman has come on my screen.
Radio check.
What is happening? Okay. Things are happening right now. Things are happening. Um, Give me one moment, boys. I am currently looking at the fan zone. It's just popped up on my screen involuntarily. What is happening? Yeah, I'm clicking X, you assholes. Okay. We got there eventually. Hello, everyone. And hello, gents in the interview room. Apologies for that. Natalie Pinkman decided to be weird and bring up the fan zone, but we're here now. Take a breath, you guys, because that was an incredible drive by all of you, and really, really exciting to not only watch but also commentate. I think I'm going to be out of action for the next month because my throat is absolutely thrashed, but fantastic action. Really, really pleasure to watch that all. But let's start with the man in P3 by what was the gap again? 36 hundredths, if I'm not mistaken. That was electric. I mean, extremely close, and it did come down to that final lap. But kind of speak to me about, I guess, that final lap because your podium kind of came in well and truly at the last moment. Contact and a bit of a squeeze. What I can only assume was the Williams, potentially the V carb. I do forget who was on the outside at that point. But you managed to skip. You managed to get in by 3600. That would have been just across the line. How are you feeling after that one? Because it was also a great effort by you. Qualifying may have been slightly better on your side, but I'm sure there's no complaints at all. And I'm not one to obviously criticize because I do terribly in your position. But it's been an incredible race. Yeah, no, absolutely. Just one moment, making sure your voice is all sharing. Should be all good. Lovely, jovely. I made sure to turn the volume up. I know Discord can play some tricks on all of us. Okay. Apparently you didn't come through on the stream, so give me one moment. Do you want to just quickly say a quick word to quickly check the audio? Oh, hello, me, own voice again. I think, yeah, sorry, all good, all good. Yeah, no, I don't know. Clearly some audio issues. I think you are there. I think it's just very quiet. Um, we'll continue on. What I'll do is I'll record it, and then we'll just kind of, yeah, we'll just kind of go from there. Alrighty. Cool. Let's do that then. Yeah, he's just really quiet. Okay. Apologies for that. We've just tried sorting some of the audio things from there. So, yeah, no, it was definitely an interesting race to say the least. A few different occasions. Obviously, let's mention the two different safety cars we had. I think I guess to start with, it did seem you went for a bit more on the overcut side, more specifically as in boxing a little later than other drivers did. It did seem you lost out a few positions in the beginning, but then obviously that safety car kind of helped you lose out less positions. I guess just over on the strategy side, it was a bit of a mess, would you say, due to all the incidents that kind of occurred? Oh, apologies. So just on the strategy side, would you consider it a bit of a mess due to all the safety cars and just the change in positions a lot of the time? Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, Albert Park, Melbourne, Australia. Next up, next round for round 12 of Tier 1. Uh, I heard from someone in the Twitch chat that your overall goal is to try and pick up the chip. Now, please correct me if I am wrong. Um, but if that is the case, you've got quite a challenge on for yourself. 111 points before this round, of course, to Websy in P1. You've managed to finish in P3 with Websy retiring. Is that your actual goal? And if so, how is that going to be achieved with, let's say, not many rounds remaining?
Just consistency. Just trying to make it through every race without DNFing, just consistently being in the top five or even podiums, and hoping that just people ahead in the championship try to finish below the top five while I'm trying to finish consistently. But there's going to be some rounds that I miss because of racing in real life. So it's a bit hard to try to claw back in the championship as well.
Right. Well, either way, it's an incredible P3 for you. You're doing exactly as you said, staying consistent, trying not to retire, and those points are coming in your favor. And if there's moments like we saw just now, with of course, Websy not necessarily making mistakes, but having those internet issues, then chances like that do open up. So I do wish you good luck, and congratulations on the podium, man.
Yes, thank you.
Well, another man who is also trying to fight for the championship at the moment, and another man who has once again closed down that gap, a man who unfortunately only had to finish in P2. Looked to try and fight for that win. Obviously, you got close at one occasion going into the final chicane, but unfortunately, it was a little bit too tight. You did get past, of course, the V carb, I believe it was, and then Aiden to follow in pursuit after that and pick up that P3. But you managed to pick up P2 in what seemed to be probably not even a P2 in your favor. It all just kind of lined up, and they were tussling quite harshly with one another and allowed you to get that opening. But let's start on the championship side. Of course, if we go to Azerbaijan, I think I had interviewed you about that race, and of course, it was very close margins. I believe from what it was in Baku, it was 78 hundredths across the line that Websy had got you by. But coming into here, Websy unfortunately retiring due to internet issues and also because of Yusuf squeezing him into a barrier. Even P2 is definitely going to help you. I believe the points for the top 10 do stay the same, so I believe it is 18 points that you now gain on Websy. And the championship hope does stay alive once again, but it did seem unlikely at one point.
Hmm.
Yeah, it close. It really was close. But how are we feeling after that one?
I don't even. It was such a chaotic race. Racecraft was from the field was certainly something. The first, I had a good qualifying, got it on pole, but I didn't have the best launch, and when I went side by side with Check, they got squeezed off track, which caused me to drop down to P3. Had a prime Lando start there. Um, but yeah, I didn't really have the best first stint. I just couldn't get past anyone. I was kind of just stuck in the DRS train. I knew I had a
Oh,
Yeah, so that was definitely a quite damage limiting from it. The wheel is still discombobulating. It's hanging on. I've whacked some tape on it, but it was
tape.
definitely I only have one clamp left, but the other clamp started coming out during the race. I kept on like hearing it click out of place,
Oh
so I
no.
had to snap it back in during straight. So yeah, it was a very tough race. I'm glad I got a good result in the end in a race that was very chaotic and definitely changing the championship up.
Well, obviously you spoke about how Websy's going to be away for the next race at Australia. Does that then start to potentially put the confidence in you a little bit more, knowing that there's going to be slightly less pressure on the McLaren side, but then also just the overall confidence you'd be carrying into Albert Park, because obviously it's another technically challenging circuit. You know, it's not the most wide circuit of all time, but there's a lot of overtaking opportunities. Overall, what is your confidence going into it, and will there be a bit more practice going into this one simply because you know this is going to be a fantastic opportunity for you to score a lot of points?
Yeah, usually I'll just try and like ignore the championship fight because I do know that the pressure usually always gets to me.
Yep.
I usually overthink a lot during those types of races. I know I just need to get a win. So I'm just trying not to think about it. I am gonna miss another race, so I'm just trying to
Interesting.
be just gonna try and keep consistent. Just trying to get the points in my favor and yeah, try and get a good result um, for next week. Yeah, of course I'm going to put in more hours in just because Websy isn't there. I need to win that basically to even have a chance of having a title fight.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, hopefully I can get the win there and continue the hunt on Websy.
Yep, close margins indeed. Well, congratulations on a fantastic P2. Obviously, the winner, who was originally in the VC, unfortunately had to leave, so we won't get a little talk from Finn's. But on Finn's side, of course, that is a race win in his favour that we haven't seen, I believe, since it was the British Grand Prix much earlier on in the season, so he'll be happy with that one. But on your side, Meowsy, of course, McJammy Dodge, of course, as well. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And on our side, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure as always. I do need to award a DOTD, and ooh, that's a tough one to do. Let me think. On my feet, DOTD can go to. Okay, nothing's coming to me. Let's. I'm just gonna think on the feet. Let's just do Meowsy. It's simple. It's easy. Actually, no. Finns. Finns. Simply because Finns has fought himself through the field. It was going to originally be Websy because he came from P18 back into the points position. That kind of went out the window. We'll go for Finns simply because it was his first win in a long time, and also because he fought his way through the field. I believe he started P5, so he had a good race on his side. Either way, thank you everyone for joining in, watching the stream. Pleasure as always. Appreciate all the support. Hopefully, we can actually get some co-commentators to join me in, because we all know how boring and lonely it gets in the comms box all by yourself. And, you know, sometimes it's nice having a co-commentator. Whatever the case may be, cheers and goodbye.